Ooh, and there is one e4 by Maxime against Magnus.
Yeah, and another debate between Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Magnus Carlsen in the Spanish opening. And at least it looks like a Spanish. It also looks like an Italian game. A bit of a hybrid there. Queen's coming off very early. Magnus trying to seek safety in an endgame. Remember, the players with black here, all they need is a draw to take the match. So Magnus going solid. But one of the players, one of the few who can compete in the endgame is Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So interesting strategy.
And that's the center board. Yes, the queens are off, but it feels like a queenless middle game because everything else is still on. And as long as one pair of majors comes off as well, but Maxime has to keep the game going. He has to keep the pressure on the clock. It's going to be a lot about flagging. I love that last move, James. Maxime, he strikes on the left side of the board, building on the pressure, asking questions, forcing Magnus to burn the clock right now because that B pawn is about to get weak.
There's a lot of things about being practical, especially in Armageddon, I mean, chess period, but definitely in Armageddon is trying to pose problems to the person that has less time. A4 is a very nice way to do that because it makes Magnus think here. There's no increment until move 60, so it makes a lot of sense to make a move like this, make Magnus think a little bit, and then, okay, maybe we take on B5 and have the open A file, and etc. from there. But nice move from Magnus here. Very, very positional awareness here. I mean, of course, it's Magnus himself, but understanding the knight is not great on F6, has no squares. We're going to reroute it.
And normally I'm used to seeing Magnus on the front side of this, the white side of this type of pawn structure. Another imbalance. James, you mentioned one bad knight there. Black has a really bad knight as well, stuck on c6, tied down defending this central pawn. And often a knight on the 6th rank, stared down by a pawn on the 3rd rank, isn't too happy. This pawn covers everything, and this knight really doesn't have a purpose.
It's a two-square theorem, right? You see a knight, you put a pawn 2 squares away from it and take away all the key squares. So the c3 pawn, a beautiful piece, and now we see white's rook dashing up the board to an active square. Maxime returns the favor, rerouting his own knights, because once that knight lands on e3, you've got jumps further on the board. d5, a juicy square for the white knight to land on. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is putting the pressure. And I can't stop thinking about what you said earlier, David. Is it public knowledge who you were seconding in the candidates?
That's correct. So we need to know that, David. They all asking in chat. And like, who was it, David? Who
was it? And when was it?
Who, David?
Want to know everything.
Let's do a lie detector sometime, Tanya, and I will reveal all. Let's keep this about the players. And of course, I mean, Maxime actually helped Magnus with a World Championship match, so they know how these things work. They've studied together. They're from the same generation. They've known each other for years. And actually, Maxime, I would say, is one of the few players who doesn't fear Magnus that much, especially in this type of position. Most people would be like, okay, queen's off, it's Magnus. Resign. But not this time, and I really love what Maxime is doing this time.
And most players, nice one by the way, David. Most players would be like, if Magnus is playing with the white pieces, you see a rook on a6, you see a knight landing on d5, you see the beautiful bishop coming to b3 on the nice diagonal, and you're already thinking that Magnus, if he was white, he's taking this one. But he can be so tricky with black here. For Maxime, a beautiful position. He's also got twice the amount of time on the clock. I think so far in the Armageddon, James, he's done everything right.
That's correct. I mean, he is, he's not a kryptonite to Magnus, but in the Champions Chess Tour, he has beaten him twice in back-to-back matches, something we've only seen once from the one and only MVL here. So he's trying to do that once again here and in Armageddon. I think for some reason, MVL just steps his game up against Magnus. It's just different. You always see that here, of course. He has the time, he has a good position, but there is still a lot of chess to be played in this game.
And I gotta say, David, that Maxime in this entire event so far, yesterday and today, he just looks so determined. The grit on his face is so easy to see, you know, completely focused, as you like to say, locked in, James.
Locked in.
The moment he gets in on the board. And look at the maneuvering, the dance of the knights that he's been putting on. You know, that knight from the edge of the board has now directed itself to the c5 or maybe even the a5 square.
Yeah, it's a battle of squares, essentially. Everything looks very symmetrical, very samey, until you spot that white has access to squares. But Magnus here trading off white's most active piece, the rook. And once the rooks leave...
Oh, shoot. Okay, the bar was like, psych. Wait, hold on. Wait, what
Bit
is
of
the
a
bar
bar dance
doing?
there.
Bar
Not good for my heart.
Yes. What's going on here? The rook can be traded off, but actually there's no threat. Okay, here Maxime, wow, gives a check and Magnus reacts.
He did. He reacted. What is the problem?
That's a...
Has there been a blunder?
I mean, okay, can you
Oh,
think?
is there...
I don't see it. I think he might just trade rooks and jump in with his knight. Actually, this is a pawn. This is a clear pawn, double attack. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, this was a hidden trick. He's jumping in.
96, you mean, David? You attack the bishop and you attack the pawn.
Oh, he finds it. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
The black dart square bishop had no squares. It was trapped. And now the big question is whether you continue jumping or whether you just defend everything. There we go. White's central pawn. The e4 pawn was under threat. And now all the white knights leaping in.
These knights, this is insane, bro. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. MVL somehow just has its magic. You know, magical MVL here has Magnus's number in the CCT at least, as we've seen. I mean, he beats him in these matches here. Magnus is not happy.
He doesn't like it. You can't even get rid of that knight. Once the pawn takes its square, you're hitting a key defender on g6, which is required to save that bishop on f8. Magnus hates this position. Those knights are absolute stallions in Magnus's camp, not giving him any activity, any play. But is there a direct breakthrough here? How does Maxime convert this advantage, David?
Well, big threat. First of all, he wants to take this bishop with a check, and once it's recaptured, the other knight would actually drop off the board, the knight on d6, which had to move, therefore. Magnus moves that out of the way, but he's totally frozen. As you mentioned, Tanya, this knight stuck defending this bishop stuck defending this pawn, which is attacked by two knights right now. So if Maxime can somehow, for example, kick away this black knight, it's simply game over. He's going to push his pawn. Okay, he actually
did he rush with that? Was that a bit hasty by him? Because he releases some pressure. He's about to win the c4 pawn, but let's point out the opposite color bishop complex here, which would give Magnus some hope.
Yeah, he's cashed in very early, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. It should still be maybe winning, I would say. Somewhere between huge advantage and winning. It's unclear yet, but Magnus, great defender. This one, it's going to go down to the clock, potentially. Magnus just doesn't have much time, and body language doesn't look great
bishop,
either.
Bro. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he's just trapped that bishop on the corner of the board. The knight on a5, it's a dominating piece right now with the two-square theorem against the black bishop, taking away all the squares, and he also keeps the pressure on the clock. That's what's so impressive about this game so far.
Yeah, the pressure on the clock is real. I mean, you did start. It's Armageddon. You have no extra time until move 60 here. I'm down a pawn, a worse position. Now, we've seen this with Wesley, too, as well, of course, in the Wesley matchup at Magnus played, where he was able to win the miraculous game. It happens. It's very doable, but MVL is just a little bit different. He has been able to convert against Magnus before. He's trying to do that right here in the Armageddon.
He needs to keep up to speed, you know, bring that king into the party. This is an endgame. King is a piece in the endgame. The plan that you're highlighting right now is the one that comes to mind. Magnus, when you look at him, does he see hope in his position?
Ooh, I think he knows that with best play, he's losing. So he knows it's up to Vachier-Lagrave to actually prove it. That's why Magnus had the audacity to even look up at the screen while it was his move, while he's under 3 minutes. Maybe while this endgame goes on, just a brief update on the other games. Maybe we can zoom out to the three-board view right now. The other games look very level. They might be decided on the clock. On the far right, we see Denis Lazovic with a locked pawn structure there against Levon Aronian. I say Levon Aronian might be the favourite there, just in terms of the position. The clock slightly down, whereas Wesley So against Vincent Keimer just totally level in a very tense middle game.
I say we jump back to the Magnus-Maxime board because, and right now, Maxime has just captured a pawn. He's got that extra pawn. He's created a passer. The c-pawn coming up the board. That's our center board. David, Maxime could be the first player to beat Magnus in this final.
He could well be. Will our world number one fall to defeat the local favourite, Magnus Carlsen? For now, he's got a blockade. It's all about the light squares. Can Maxime here break through? But he's fixed all of Magnus's pawns on dart squares. Targets for White's bishop. Oh, I don't know. Predictions, James? What do you think?
You know, it is difficult. I think that MVL has done everything he was supposed to do. He created the passed pawn here, which it does open up the bishop. And now we have to Devoretsky him, to say the least, where king b6, push the pawn up, and obviously try to get the bishop behind these pawns because they're all on dark squares as well. But this is hard to do. Like, Magnus has probably done the best he can do with this position here. Maybe shuffle back and forth. Okay, now we have a trade, pushing, and I mean, how do we make progress here for White? I'm not kidding. Like, how do you do this? The knight goes back and forth, literally.
It's
nothing
the
to do.
perfect blockade.
Yep.
And the white bishop, it can't really find its way to attack those pawns that you were pointing out earlier, David. That bishop on e3, it just wants to hop over to the other side of the board, but there's no entry point. Has Magnus created a fortress this one?
I don't think Magnus has created a fortress. I think Maxime gave him a fortress.
Yep.
He pretty much got the hammer and tongs out. He started building that fortress for Magnus, and literally, he's just going to move his knight back and forth, back and forth. You can put the king where you want the white king. It cannot get in.
That's it.
And a draw means Magnus wins the match.
Another one.
Miracle for Magnus Carlsen. And there were these jokes about how he didn't believe in fortresses. This time, he's pretty much erected one. Look at those pawns. They protect each other. They control each other. Nothing for white to do.
And Maxime
that's
realizes
tough.
it.
Ooh-wee. Man.
He's squandering away the time advantage as well because nothing's left to be done. The only way is to get that white bishop to attack those pawns on the dark squares, but how do you even get to that?
There's
All
no
the
way.
squares are controlled, James.
There's literally no way. Okay, you have this one thing. If you get the king to d5, the knight moves, and you sack the bishop on e5. And then you get 2 pawns, then you try to win the g and the h. And you can try to win that and get all of the pawns for the bishop. And then that's probably winning, to be honest. But that might be the only way.
That's a great spot there, James. I think the only way to break a fortress is sometimes by pure brute force. And no fancy maneuvering will do the job here. The white king comes back. The black king will happily sidestep back where it came from. The clock is one issue, but remember the players do get a 1-second increment after move 60, so Magnus is already almost there. We're now at move 53, and as long as he keeps his king on this square, knights are normally not great at waiting, losing time, but this black knight has up to 8 squares with which to wait. You cannot control all of them at once. This should just be a draw.
It's funny in chat. Someone's like, yo, can black offer a draw? I mean, you can. It is not against the rules to offer a draw here, but these guys are not accepting that. That was just a funny one from chat. Shout out to chat. We're always watching.
Yeah, and Magnus, he's just shuffling around with the knight and the king. And David, to your point, this was Maxime's game to give away.
Yeah.
This was Maxime's fortress to give away. You know, he did everything right.
Yep.
And then somehow miracles always seem to happen around Magnus Carlsen, and here he is, and you can't push the c-pawn. You can't make your bishop active. The white king has maximized itself right now. And Maxime, you look at him, you know...
Oh, he calling an arbiter. He's like, hey, bro, we've been here before.
Is he claiming a draw?
I think he's claiming.
Drama.
I think he's claiming.
Is he claiming a repetition?
I like to claim a draw. We've been here 3 times.
Whoa, that's some awareness. Is it a repetition? Dave?
Magnus is correct. This
Whoa.
position has been seen on move 50, on move 54, and move 56.
And they're about to check it. They're going to check it.
How does he know?
They're going to check it.
This is unbelievable.
They're going to check it. And he says, I claim a draw. And here we go.
Grimace from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave as he leaned back there. Magnus knows everything, the pattern recognition. Remember, it's not 3 moves. The position has to repeat itself. It's the position.
Itself.
Yeah, it's not sequential. This position has happened before 5 moves ago, and then 2 moves ago, and then now. And Magnus showing incredible awareness. Our arbiter Judith, she's confirming, and is she about to award? And a draw means Magnus takes the match.
Another one, chat. I think he is correct here, but this is insane to see. And also an insane form for Magnus. Never give up is the story, chat. Never, ever give up.
James, David's confirming that the position has happened. It's occurred thrice.
It's already there.
And in the meantime, 2 other Armageddon games still raging ongoing. We'll see this game continue, potentially conclude.
Is it okay, we're
It's
still
given.
figuring out.
The draw is given.
Let's see a hand
It is a
shaking.
repetition of positions.
1.
Oh, wait. No.
Is it not?
Go on. Wow.
So
I'm
if
very
he's
confused
wrong-
there. The arbiters decide ultimately that Maxime Vachier-Lagrave gets more time and the
my
game
goodness.
continues. But I'm very surprised. I see the moves in front of me. It looks like that was the 3rd time.
Happened there?
Drama. If Magnus now goes down, he'll have some real issues. He'll be looking back at this moment, but ultimately it's still a fortress. It still should be a draw, but now Maxime Vachier-Lagrave goes for it. He changes the pawn structure, but now the black pawn is running.
A draw is as good as a loss for Maxime, so he takes his chance. He's given that F-pawn, giving a passer to Magnus. And now Magnus Carlsen is somehow winning the position. And knight is coming in to fork the bishop.
Bro, this is
Knight into
crazy.
pawn, threats of the h-pawn marching down the board. If the bishop moves away from the diagonal, the f-pawn will move up and queen itself. Don't grab the g5 pawn. Magnus's draw claim gets rejected, and he's winning on the next move, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave resigns.
He pretty much resigns. It was an agreement of a draw, which is the same thing, but Magnus Carlsen
Generally, there's nothing
job
to
done
lose
in the end.
by playing.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Wow. That was crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
Drama everywhere.